The Yamaha 350cc wasn't just built, it was handcrafted in one of the most iconic motorcycle factories of the 1960s. Every weld, every bolt, and every rev came from inside Yamaha's legendary Japanese plant, where precision met passion and the two-stroke revolution was born. Factories that once churned out wartime necessities are now urgently searching for new purpose, new avenues for their industrial might. And in this highly charged, transformative atmosphere, one company, Yamaha, known globally not for raw horsepower, but for delicate harmony, for crafting exquisite pianos and resonant organs, makes an almost unbelievably audacious, almost unthinkable decision. They decide to take an insane, monumental gamble, to pivot entirely from the precise, time-honored art of musical instruments to the rugged, unforgiving, and fiercely competitive world of motorcycle manufacturing. Their 1960s factory floor, once a serene plain of fine wood shavings, polished lacquer, and tuning forks, begins a radical transformation. The ambitious goal? Not just to build motorcycles, but to build world-class motorcycles, engineering marvels like the soon-to-be iconic 350cc. This wasn't merely a new product line they were introducing. It was Yamaha courageously forging an entirely new identity, directly battling established global giants and effectively betting its hard-earned reputation against incredible, almost insurmountable odds. Every single nut, every bolt, every satisfying roar of a newly assembled engine was a powerful testament to this bold, unwavering vision. But as they embarked on this ambitious journey to create machines that would capture hearts and dominate races, there was one critical, unforeseen problem lurking in the shadows. A fundamental flaw in their otherwise brilliant plan so severe that it threatened to shatter Yamaha's entire two-wheel dream into a million pieces before it even truly began. What was this near-fatal obstacle, and how did they overcome it to finally give us the legendary Yamaha 350cc? Through the late 1950s and into the 1960s, Yamaha moved fast. They developed bigger bikes, faster bikes, machines like the 250cc YDS series and the 305cc YM1. But in 1967, everything changed with the arrival of the YR1, a sleek, aggressive 350cc twin that put out more horsepower than some cars of the era. And it didn't stop there. The YR2 and YR3 refined the platform, and by the time the legendary RD350 hit the scene in the early 70s, Yamaha had already laid the groundwork for one of the most iconic engines in two-stroke history. But behind every fast lap, behind every wheelie or drag strip win, there was a place where it all started, a factory in Hamamatsu. Not a high-tech robotic lab, but a living, breathing workshop where real people made real machines. This is that place. This is how the Yamaha 350cc was made. What you're seeing here is Yamaha's legendary Hamamatsu factory in the heart of Shizuoka Prefecture, sometime in the 1960s. The factory gates swing open at dawn, and within minutes, a rhythm takes hold. The hum of machines, the footsteps of uniformed workers, and the unmistakable metallic symphony of a generation that built everything by hand, yet with absolute precision. Back then, Yamaha wasn't just making motorcycles, they were making history. And right here, under those high tin roofs and next to rows of windows that let in the first light of morning, the legendary 350cc two-stroke engine, the heart of performance bikes like the YR1 and R3, was born. We begin with raw aluminum ingots. They're stacked like silver bricks and loaded into massive furnaces. Flames flicker. The ingots glow orange as they melt into liquid metal. Workers carefully pour the molten aluminum into complex sand molds. These molds, shaped by skilled hands and hardened by years of practice, form the outer shell of what will become the engine's core, the cylinder block and crankcase. As the metal cools, a thick mist rises, a combination of heat, moisture, and chemical reactions. Workers with face shields down cracks open the mold and pull out the casting. It's raw, still covered in sand and scale, but it's the beginning. This casting is carried to the next station. A grinder shaves off the seams. A high-speed rotary blade trims the flash. Sparks jump as the unfinished block starts to take form. Now the real transformation begins. The cooled parts are placed onto industrial lathes and milling machines. These are not digital machines. No touchscreens. These are controlled by knobs, gauges, and mechanical memory. One of the most advanced machines in this part of the factory is the electric gear cutter, a marvel of its time. It's fitted with temperature compensating technology, an early form of real-time calibration. Even when the factory floor rises in heat during the day, this machine keeps the cutting error within 0.005 of an inch. It's thinner than a human hair. Each gear tool is carved with surgical precision. The shaft is milled to match. Tolerances are checked constantly with dial indicators, micrometers, and feeler gauges. There's no room for sloppiness, not when these parts will spin thousands of times per minute. Next up, the heat treating plant. This is one of the most critical phases in the entire process, because raw metal alone isn't enough. It needs strength, it needs resilience, and that's where cementation comes in. The machine gears, shafts, and related engine components are loaded into large furnaces for a process called carburizing. Here, the outer layers of the metal absorb carbon, forming an extremely hard shell while leaving the core tough and flexible. This gives the gear its unique ability to endure high loads without becoming brittle. Some parts receive high-frequency partial hardening, a technique where electrical current flows through targeted areas, hardening only the sections exposed to high stress. The rest remains softer and more shock-absorbent. You're watching metal glow red at the tips while staying silver gray in the middle. It's surgical. Then, the parts are annealed, a controlled cooling process that relieves internal stress and improves durability. Finally, they're polished, not for looks, but to remove microcracks and strain caused by the intense heat. A high-speed buffing wheel smooths the surfaces until they shine. The next phase is the assembly line, but not the chaotic rush you might picture in modern factories. This line moves with purpose, with calm, with rhythm. Parts flow onto the conveyor. This is where those individual pieces, once just metal, become something more. The assembly begins at the crankshaft station. A team of senior workers, often called the crankmasters, fit the forged crank webs and press them into perfect alignment with the connecting rod. They check runout by spinning it slowly on precision V-blocks. If it's not perfect, it doesn't go forward. This is the life of the engine after all. Every pulse, every explosion from the cylinder above will be transferred through the shaft. It has to be perfectly balanced. It has to be strong. It has to last. Once the crank is secured inside the crankcase, it's time to install the piston. A cast aluminum dome, 2 rings, light and nimble, slide smoothly into the bore. A dab of assembly oil is added. The piston is rotated. It glides without resistance. Then, the freshly honed cylinder is lowered. This is where the engine starts to look like an engine. That distinct 2-stroke profile, narrow, tall, simple, but brutally effective. The cylinder is torqued down. The head is added. Spark plug installed. You're watching the birth of the Yamaha 350cc 2-stroke. Its signature? Lightweight, strong, loud, and unbelievably quick. The reed valve is installed next, Yamaha's innovation to help tame and shape the raw pulse of a 2-stroke. The thin pedals flex just enough to let air-fuel mixture in, but snap shut instantly on compression. Then, the Mikuni carburetor is added. Workers tune it using analog gauges, air-fuel sniffers, and experience. Every part is tested, not in theory, but in real time. Now, we move to the gearbox. Gears, shafts, forks, and springs are assembled on a spotless bench. Each tooth is coated with gear oil before being fitted. No dry fits here. The selector drum is tested by hand. Click, click, click. 3 gears, 4 gears, 5. Smooth engagement. The wet clutch is next. Steel and friction plates alternate and are inserted into the clutch basket. The clutch cover is sealed and tightened. Then comes the stator, the ignition timing, and the final covers. At this point, the engine is sealed, complete, alive, but it hasn't spoken yet. Now, we arrive at one of the most sacred spots in the factory, the test station. The completed 350cc engine is wheeled in on a rolling test rig. A fuel line is connected. A simple analog tachometer is clipped to the ignition wire. A small exhaust pipe is bolted on. A worker primes the carburetor. Another grips the Kickstarter lever, and soon the engine barks to life. It screams with that unmistakable 2-stroke buzz. High-pitched, angry, full of energy. Smoke rises from the pipe as oil burns off. Once it passes the first fire-up test, the engine is warmed up, checked for leaks, and retuned for optimal mixture. Every engine, every time. Before any Yamaha 350cc left the factory, it went through one last set of hands, final inspection. A senior technician walks around the bike with a checklist. He taps the spokes to hear for tightness. He spins the wheels, checks the brake feel. He grips the bars and shakes them gently. No play. He then wipes the bike down with a clean cloth, from the headlight to the chain guard. The badge is applied. Yamaha. It glints in the factory lights. Simple, clean, confident. But it's not done yet. Behind the factory is a short test track, a loop with corners, straightaway, and braking zones. Each bike is rolled outside, the engine warmed, and a test rider climbs aboard. Helmets on, gloves tight. The rider kicks it once. The bike lurches forward and disappears down the straight. You can hear it shift, first, second, third, as it zips down the track. He leans into a corner, pushes the suspension, and brakes hard, then takes it through the gears again. This isn't just about performance, it's about feeling. Does the bike pull smoothly? Are the gears crisp? Is the throttle responsive? Only when the rider brings it back with a nod does it move on. The finished Yamaha 350cc's are lined up in rows, gleaming under the sun. Each is wheeled into a wooden crate, cushioned and secured. The crates are stamped with destinations: Tokyo, Los Angeles, Sydney, London. Some of these bikes will win races, some will end up in garages, others will be remembered forever as the ride that started a lifelong obsession. But every single one was born here in a factory where machines were loud, workers were proud, and every engine was touched by real hands. It wasn't fast, it wasn't easy, but it was perfect. And decades later, you can still hear that unmistakable Yamaha scream echoing across hills, racetracks, and back roads. Proof that the past was built to last. If you enjoyed the video, hit like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell for more motorcycle videos.